So when we talk about in-law issues, they're complex. And so I'm going to be touching on a little different aspects, but for us to recognize with in-law issues, it has to do with your personality, their personality, the interaction of the personalities. It has to do with their health, your health, everybody else's health. It has to do with, what stage in life you're at, initial stage of marriage versus, 30 years after the marriage. And similarly with your in-laws. It has to do with a physical location. Are you in the same city? Are you in a different country? Like, those factors all contribute to what's going on. And who has social support? Do you have social support? Does your in-laws have social support? Is there a place to kind of help you get through some of the complex issues? And those are all factors that impact how you navigate this relationship as an adult child. It's oftentimes what happens is when the umbilical cord does not get cut between the parent-in-laws and the adult child, it causes a source of frustration. So really establish your own marital identity. This doesn't mean you disrespect anyone, but it's a matter of realizing you are a couple and your couple needs have rights. Thirdly, communicate with your spouse. Oftentimes, we just hold it in, and then we erupt like a volcanic eruption. And then the other person is like, where did that come from, right? If you're constantly communicating and discussing issues and topics and raising concerns, that opens the possibility for frustrations to be addressed. I know for me, my in-laws recently moved to live with us about 3 years ago. And that was a huge shift in our family. There's so many different dynamics changes. And if it wasn't for the communication that we had between us, hey, I'm frustrated about this, we need to address this issue, help me understand what's going on, we would not have been able to navigate that change within the family dynamics. So really communicate with your spouse. Next, we need to really set our spouses up for success. If we know something about our family dynamics, let them know. Tell them this would be probably the best thing to do in this situation. This will help you navigate this issue and create an opportunity. Like, if your spouse does not know how to handle a situation, make it safe to discuss. Well, I didn't know when your parents did X, Y, or Z. What could I have done better? Really kind of taking a team approach. Keep things in perspectives as well. Also recognize that if something happens, is it going to be the end of the world? If you typically dress a certain way and your parent-in-laws like a certain type of dress, shalwar kameez, and you're not used to it, is it going to kill you to wear it one day? Like, really, does it make a difference, right? Those are the questions. But then there are other issues which are major issues, which if you have to communicate in a way that is effective. And don't wait till you reach your breaking point. So one thing that's very common is resentment, right? Oftentimes, when we're with our in-law relationships, we sometimes get frustrated. And one of the things you want to start thinking about, why are you getting frustrated? And typically, resentment develops from unmet needs. Okay? So really ask yourself, what are the unmet needs that are being missed? Sometimes it's feeling deprived or neglected rights, not having time with your spouse because your parent-in-law's expectations may be like you have to be doing X, Y, or Z, right? And so if you can address that issue up front with your spouse, that can help out the situation. It could be there's differential treatment. They treat their daughters one way, they treat their daughter-in-laws another way. They treat the son one way, the son-in-laws another way. Again, recognize that it's due to unmet needs. It could be inequality of resources. Well, I don't have as much time to myself because I'm so exhausted. Or every single weekend, the minute we have a free time, we're over at our in-laws. When am I going to get time? When am I going to get some downtime, right? So that could be an example of unmet needs, right? There's oppression and exploitation. That is a reality in some of our cultures. Some of the daughter-in-laws are expected to be servants of their parent-in-laws. And so when that oppression is happening, of course it's going to result in resentment. And we need to address it, and we'll talk about it a little bit after that. Arrogance is another issue. When one person is saying, well, this is my in-law, this is my parents, you have to do whatever they said, regardless of what your reality is, regardless of what your needs are. There's an issue of, well, you have to do it because I said it, right? That's another one that creates resentment. And then if there's a negative, unhealthy environment where you're constantly being put down, your self-esteem needs are not being met. And similarly, if you believe what your in-laws say and it's inaccurate information, that also results in a source of conflict. So see, these are some of the issues and problems. Some of the things that we can do for resentment is prevention and intervention. Understand the source of the resentment. Where is it coming from? Why is it there? What can we do about it? Actively address the issue instead of running away from it, instead of putting your head in the ground. Actively develop healthy boundaries. There's time for your parents, there's time for the relationship, for the couple, there's time for your kids. Make sure there's a balance, because everyone has a right? Make sure you're using the Quran and the prophetic example as your compass, not your ego. Because oftentimes it's the ego comes in the way. How can you say that about my mother? How can you say that about my father? If they've said something inappropriate, if they've been unkind, if they've been unjust, it is what it is. We have to address it. And be just in your actions and find mercy and compassion, as Sheikh Radar mentioned earlier. Important point that I want to highlight, because we often get confused. Biological children, right? You have to understand your responsibility is to take care of your children, your parents. It is not your spouse's responsibility. If they do it, it is out of rahmah. It is not their responsibility. They are responsible for their parents. And you should help out of rahmah, out of mercy and kindness to help them. And so it's really important. Now, one of the frustrations is oftentimes the daughter-in-laws have all the responsibility of her parents and his parents, right? Where is the justice? Right? Where is the justice? Now, if your wife helps out, great. Thank her, appreciate her as much as you can, because honestly, that makes a huge difference. It helps motivate you. But be proactive and address these issues, and make sure that if she's doing something for your parents, you are replicating in kind, and if not better, with her parents. Because that, again, will be a strong motivation for your spouse to continue. And do not allow anyone, even your parents, right? Even your parents, to disrespect your spouse. Because that is another factor that will cause issues for both of you. And she has her rights, he has his rights. Always make sure that their honor and integrity is being respected. Do I have more time? One more minute, okay. The other aspect, so that's the biological child. Now for the in-law adult child. Understand we're all coming from different family norms, cultures, and expectations. You can be in the same culture. You can both be Arab. You can both be from South Asia. You could both be African American. But each family culture is different. Each norms are different. And part of what you want to do as you integrate into a new family is understand what are the family cultural norms of that family. What are the norms of your family? What are the norms that you want to cultivate in your new family, right? And those are conversations. And one recommendation I would have for you is in your relationship with your in-laws, invest early. Think of it as a bank account. The more you invest earlier on, the more the future ahead will be easier. When you're younger, you don't have kids, you don't have as many responsibilities. You can have more time. You have more time to invest and understand and where they're coming from, why they're coming from, build those memories, build a shared narrative. As things change, you don't have as much time. And things are going to get difficult. They are always going to love their child because they sacrificed and nurtured and done so much for that child. That's not always going to be given to you, right? You have to earn it. Just like your parents have it for you, your spouse is also going to have to earn it from the other end. And so that requires investment from our end. And choose your battles wisely. And then one of the challenges is it's not easy. Like relationships with in-laws are not always going to be easy. Reframe those experiences. Remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not give you a burden more than you can handle in terms of if there is conflict. Recognize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows mercy to those who show mercy on others. Maybe you are wronged. You take action, but you still show mercy to the other individual. And constantly really focus on how can you attain Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pleasure through showing mercy and compassion and positive action and goodwill towards your in-laws. I'll just quickly do, I think one more thing is make sure to give them time, energy, and importance. And as they age, that's going to be much more. And so, for example, it would be helpful to help them out getting them their groceries, going places. And we talked about this earlier session in Aging with Dignity. But really communicate regularly with your in-laws. There may be, for example, an issue where you don't know what to talk about your in-laws with. That's fine. Get your spouse on the line and have them talk, and you're just in there in the early years so you know you have certain things that you can talk about so they feel that you care about them enough to call. Make sure to do things that make them happy. Make them feel special, like they matter. Ask their opinion on things. And make sure that they feel that they're included in your life, right? Do chores, tasks. Those are things that bring you closer. You're not going to be able to do everything, but do as much as you can when you can and however you can, and show and express that attempt to even doing that. Oops. An important thing especially for us, is don't expect that your parents are going to serve you. Oftentimes, we expect our parents are always there for us. They're always doing things for us. When you're adults, it's time to serve your parents. Simply. If they have the ability to do, great. But don't expect to be served. If they're willing to babysit, great. Alhamdulillah. Appreciate it. Thank them. But don't expect them to be on call 24/7. They've done their job. They raised you. It's time for them to enjoy life. Right? Be responsible, respect their privacy, and pay attention to their physical, psychological, and social needs. And there's a toolkit we just talked about in the last section, which really talks about elder care toolkit. I encourage you to go on to our website to really use those resources to help support our elders, because the situation of in-laws becomes much more interesting and complex as they age. And so making sure you have the support for that. Those of you guys who are not familiar with the Family and Youth Institute, it is a research and education institute where a lot of these resources that we were finding from individuals that these are the issues that you're facing. These are the problems that we're having. We're doing the research for you and then providing them and developing them into resources. So I invite you to join the FYI, join our email list. If the information is there, thefyi.org, and text your name and email to this number, so if you would like to get on our email list. Jazakallah khair, and open it for questions, inshallah.